Hello, everybody. Adam and I were recently talking about the topics that we should discuss on the podcast. And an idea came to mind that maybe we should do a series of podcast episodes, a series of episodes specifically related to the development of a successful private practice. Like, where do we start? How about marketing? How about hiring? How about recruiting? But all laid out in a series so you don't have to jump around to different episodes that I've posted over the years, but rather laid out from soup to nuts, A to Z, a singular episode for every department of the business that you need to address, and put it all together in a series of consecutive episodes so that you have the quintessential bulletproof practice owner's manual for success. This manual, these episodes actually follow the blueprint of our coaching program. Coaching clients have access to what we call the Vault, which is a library of digital resources that Adam has created to help any owner that needs help in a particular aspect of their business to go there, learn about it, address it appropriately, and implement it into their practices. We just decided that maybe we'd add to that and provide these podcast episodes on top of it. The final product of this series of episodes will look like this. We're going to have podcasts in order of the proper development of your practice, YouTube videos in order as well that go in line with the podcast series. And at the very end, a checklist of how to actually build a successful practice out that will be posted on the Facebook group. Join if you haven't joined, Physical Therapy Owners Club, and also on our website when it's all completed, ptoclub.com. The website is completed, but this series of episodes, once that's completed, that will be posted there as well. So look forward to that. And in the meantime, enjoy this particular episode of our series of the Practice Owner's Manual for Success. Hello, and welcome to the Physical Therapy Owners Club podcast. I'm your host, Nathan Shields. We got my buddy and partner, Adam Robin, on board. Thanks for joining me again today, man.
Man, happy Thursday. Glad to be here.
It's good to have you, man. It's been a little bit since we've come around to do some podcast interviews just between the two of us to talk about important things. But I'm really excited about this series of podcast episodes that we're going to create, because between this series of episodes, it should provide a very stable foundation off of which and structure off of which any physical therapist can build a successful physical therapy clinic. Is that the same vision that you have?
Yeah, I would say you can even just broaden it to like anybody who wants to run a business. Whether you're an occupational therapist, speech therapist, chiropractor, physician, plumber, electrician, like we're going to lay out the fundamental elements of what, like every single section of your business, and give you some, I guess, like chapters to your owner's manual.
Right.
So this is definitely a series of like, you should have a pen out, you should have a piece of paper out, write these things down. And if you plug these things into your business, it's impossible for you not to have success with it.
Mm-hmm. That was going to be my next question. How would you recommend people consume these episodes? Pen and paper for sure.
Yeah.
But if a lot of them might be driving, so maybe you can listen to it initially, but maybe come back around and listen to it again with pen and paper, or make some notes when you stop. How do you recommend people consume and make sure they implement?
Yeah. So I would say you should walk away with something that you're going to commit to implementing every single episode, at least one thing, right? And if you implement these things, each of these, I think there's going to be about 10 or 12 episodes, but if you implement at least one thing from each episode, you will massively improve your business, right? So I would recommend pen and paper, and then identify one key thing from each episode that's really just calling you, and implement it.
The tendency for a lot of physical therapists, because we tend to be perfectionists, is that I feel like, and I do this plenty of times as I'm listening to podcasts or read self-help books, is I've got to implement it all in order to move on to the next thing. But you're saying, hey, just pick something that either you're like, yeah, I need to work on that. Or I'd even recommend, if something looks like, I know I need to do that, but I'm kind of scared, that's probably the thing that you need to address. And just focus on that one thing and focus on that, not do all the three, four, five things. Just take one thing, focus on it, move on to the next. Otherwise, you're just going to get stuck, bogged down, burned out, you name it,
That's
and you
right.
won't make any traction.
Yeah, like if you want to run a marathon, you don't go out and run a marathon. You go for a walk. Day one, you go
Mhm.
for a walk. You know what I mean? And then the next day, you go for a little longer walk. And then the next day, you go for a light jog. And then you build it. So, yeah, like find one little small win you can have some fun with it, celebrate, and then on to the next one.
And come back and even consider this, that maybe this is in a library of episodes that you come back to, say in another 6 months,
Love it.
or maybe once a year you re-listen to it. And that's how, hopefully that's how we're packaging it and presenting it to the listeners, is that these are timeless, and that you can come back to them and find nuggets within it, depending on the perspective and the situation that you are in your business.
That's right. Love it.
Great. Okay. Well, let's start off, man. What is number one?
Number one, chapter one of your owner's manual. So you have a piece of paper right now, everybody. You have a piece of paper. There's a pen in your hand, and at the top, I want you to write owner's manual and underline it, all caps. Chapter one is building the foundation. And so, what we want to talk about today is understanding your story, understanding your purpose, understanding the values of your company, creating the identity of your company. And this is going to be one of those things where it's like, oh man, I don't want to do that. That sounds boring. I just want to make some money.
I
You
want
know,
more
it's
new
like,
patients.
yeah, it's like, do you want to be an owner or not? Okay, listen to me. This is something you're going to have to commit to, and it doesn't have to take a year. Like, give me a couple weeks and just focus on this, build this out, share it with your team, and start actually trying to live this. And then you will actually like you'll definitely have a positive impact in your business.
You talk about story, and maybe we're going to talk about it a little bit more in detail here, but I looked at my story. I'm like, my story is nothing special. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why would I bother highlighting that? Why would I bother telling people that? Well, number one, people love stories. Number two, if they're working for you, don't you, your team wants to know where you're coming from. Why did you do this? What did you have some hiccups along the way? Did you have an inspiration? Did you have an injury that you came back from? Was there a mentor? Was there someone you loved that you thought, man, I want to do that with people because I saw my loved one get treated in an appropriate way and see significant gains? Did you have an experience, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera? Everyone has a unique story that led to their opening up of their business. And it's imperative that their team knows that, so that they can understand your inspiration, right?
That's right.
And so it doesn't have to be glamorous. It can be really simple. Um, Mine, I would say, I don't want to take the time to share it, but it's rather simple, and it's not life. Well, it was life changing to make the decision to go into business. And maybe that's another reason why you need to share it, is because this is a life changing event. I sacrificed a lot of time and money to build this business, and this is where I'm coming from.
Yeah, I think one of the most powerful things I've ever done is share my story with my team. And it's sometimes it gets emotional, you know. Um, Not everybody's story is so happy, right?
Yeah.
A lot of times your story comes from past pain,
Right.
right? Past a big challenge that you overcame,
Mhm.
you know. So people's story, from my experience, people's story sounds something like, "Hey, I was happy and I was fulfilled with this thing, and then I lost it all." And then like I lost my identity, I lost my way, I was lost, I was overwhelmed, I was anxious, I was depressed, I was not happy. And then then I experienced blank. I met the savior, I met the hero, I met a person, or I was exposed to my church, right? Or my
Mhm.
pastor. And he pulled me out of the weeds and helped me overcome things. And then now I'm super happy and I'm back on top of the mountain. And then your story is typically, I want to help others experience their version of that. I want to see others like overcome those challenges. I want to help them in that way. And it takes some reflection, right? And a lot of times it takes the work of a coach to help you kind of pull that story out. but sit down and just kind of reflect on your story and reflect on some of the painful things that you went through in as you along your journey, and reflect on how you overcome them, who helped you overcome them, and what new realizations did you have.
Mm.
And if you can start getting clear on what that story is, it could be a really powerful culture builder for you and your team.
Right. You're definitely you're explaining the hero's journey, and I'm trying to reflect on my own story, and it doesn't replicate that. It was simply, I had some peripheral experience with physical therapy, seeing other people go through it, and I was thinking about healthcare in general, and then I did a volunteer, like just observation at a couple of physical therapy clinics, and every time I left, I was excited, like adrenaline rush, loved it. I'm like, well, maybe this is telling me something. I guess I'll pursue it. And so it was rather simple. Then when it comes to opening up a business, that's a different story. That's another story.
Mm-hmm.
But you would add that
Mm-hmm.
on top of it. That got me into physical therapy. This journey got me into ownership. And so talking about that. But as you were talking, one client story stood out as unique in that he got into physical therapy because he likes doing puzzles. And he found that as he's working with patients, they were like a puzzle. He's trying to figure them out with all the different special tests and range of motion measures and strength measures, and trying to put all this together to find out the solution to their problem. And thus he wanted to open up a physical therapy clinic. And his goal, he wanted to see the hardest spine patients there were out there, the most complicated patients, because those were the most complicated puzzles to solve. Right. I'm like, dude, that's your purpose. I mean, you got to
That's
weave that into your,
amazing.
isn't that cool? Like,
That's so
weave that
cool.
into, let your team know that why you want to see these patients. I mean, you're out there marketing to see these complicated back patients. Your team better know that you're marketing for complicated back patients. If they're going to be aligned to that kind of patient population and wanting to treat them. But yeah, it can be simple things, and it just took a little bit of work for us to have that conversation with him to pull out that story. He didn't see that connection before. I was
Mm-hmm.
able to be a third party to it and share that with him.
Yeah. Another way that it's been described to me is like, not like sometimes your story can come from past pain. Sometimes your story can come from what you stand for.
Mm,
Right? It's like I took a stand for something. Like I decided that I wanted to take a stand of like I was going to help people solve their puzzle. Right? I was going to help. I was going to take a stand of what was important to me. Another way that can spark some brain juice to help you open up some clarity around this is, what do you stand against?
mm,
It's like, I stand against blank. I will not tolerate blank. I will not be this. Right. And that can help you uncover what's really, really important to you.
mm, right.
So yeah, good stuff.
So and that doesn't have to take a lot of time. I mean,
No.
you share that, you put it out, maybe you put a little thought to it and just have a story, but that's something that, um, if it's a captivating story, like Will Humphreys has a captivating story, but if it's a captivating story, you want to broadcast that all over the place, and that because you will be remembered for that story, and people will be drawn to you because of your story. And you want that. You want people to be drawn to you. You want to work with like-minded people. If it ignited a spark in you, and it ignites a spark in them, more than likely you're going to be aligned at a basic level, and probably have some value alignment at least to build off of. So it's important to share. So we got through the story. What's next?
Purpose.
Talk.
Yeah, man. Your purpose is what you do, right? What do you do? More specifically, like, what are you committed to? I just had I'm going to shout out, well, maybe I won't. I just had a coaching client that I was working with earlier today. And we were talking about purpose. We've been talking about purpose for 3 weeks.
Mm,
And I said, what do you do? Like, what do you do here? What do you do at this company? And he's like, well, we're trying to help people feel better. And we're trying to, help people experience fulfillment. He kept throwing some words. So there was a lot of lack of clarity. And he's like, one thing that we do in the eval is we help people reach their ultimate goal. And I was like, tell me about that. He said, we use the language of like, we help people reach their ultimate goal, which is we turn their dreams into realities. Like if they really have a dream of like, I want to go for a walk with my dog 3 days a week around the park, we turn that into a reality. And we call that the ultimate goal. And I was like, stop right there.
That's
You
your
know what
purpose.
I mean? There's your purpose.
That's your why.
That's your why, right? It's like, that's what you do. We help people, and I've got it written right here. We help people turn their dreams into possibilities.
Right.
So it's like, it has nothing to do with physical therapy. It has nothing
No.
to do with, right? Nothing to do
Right.
with like what you do,
Right.
as far as like, it's like, it really
It's
defines like
not
who you
nothing
are.
technical. Yeah.
Right. Right. And so, it's typically related to how you want to impact the world, how you want to be seen in the world, what you want to be known for in the world. And this is something that you not only bring to your team, to your patients, but bring to your families, you bring to your community, you bring to your referral partners, you bring to your little kids' little league soccer game, and you're talking to the moms and dads that are sitting around you. Like you live that purpose.
Hmm.
And when you can identify that, you get that written down and you link that to your story, boom, now you're starting to create an identity, right? You're starting to create an identity, and that's going to be the catalyst to your culture.
Yeah. I was going to say, heaven forbid you start a culture.
What?
What? No way.
What?
This is
Yeah.
where
So
it starts. I
your
mean,
purpose is what you do, right?
and it's so funny because when you're a singular practitioner, you are like you and the business are one, right? You're the sole provider. You might have a tech, a PTA, a front desk person, but you are the main thing. You're the owner and provider. And that is the culture. It all revolves around you. But if you have any hopes for growth and to build a culture that you want and that you have some control of and that you're intentional about, it starts with these items, right? And this is how you build a great team, is through having a story and a purpose. And we're going to talk about values. It's having these things in place off of which to attract like-minded people. And so I've I used to send the Simon Sinek video, the TED talk of Simon Sinek, that I think it kind of catapulted him, was his talk about why, the why. And I probably sent it to you back
Mhm.
in the day before our first coaching visit years ago. But watch the Simon Sinek video, the TED talk about it starts with why. And he'll explain to you exactly what this is. The why and the purpose are essentially the same thing. It has nothing to do with what you do. It has everything to do with why you're in existence. And so typically, if if you have a good purpose, well, let's say it this way. If you have a bad purpose, if it says anything about the therapy that you provide. We
Mhm.
provide the most hands-on care, the most individualized physical therapy in the community, serving our clients. We provide a holistic approach to the care of the. Yeah, that's not that's what you do. That's not your why. That's not your purpose. That's not why you exist. Um, a purpose is what is your why, such that people can say, yeah, I can agree with that. Now, what do you do? So
Mhm.
if people were like, hey, so it could be an elevator pitch. You meet someone in the elevator, never know they're a stranger, and they they say, so what do you do? Well, back in the day, our purpose was help others rise above. We help others rise above. What do you mean by that? Well, we are a physical therapy clinic that helps people rise above, whether that's our patients, our clients, our vendors. We don't care. We want to help others rise above throughout the community, everyone we touch, right? And that gives people a picture. It gives them a painting, right, of exactly who you are and what you're set out to do. And it makes it really easy then after that point to get other people in line with you.
Love it, man. Love it. And the purpose, and we'll talk about values here in a second, but your story, your purpose, your values, it's a document that just keeps breathing. It keeps growing. It keeps evolving, right? As you grow and learn and evolve, it's like as you expand the way that you think about how to serve people and who you want to be, and your team grows and you start adding team members, it's like that grows with you, you know?
Right.
So yeah, I love that. I love that. So right now you should have a piece of paper Page one should say your story, and you should write that down. Put some language to it. 100 to 200 words, something you can share in about 3 minutes. Turn the page over. Now you're going to start defining what your purpose is. What is your purpose? Personal purpose that you want to, what's the impact that you want to make on the world?
Mhm.
Right. And so, right underneath that, we're going to define the third pillar of your culture, which is your values. Right. And I'm not an expert on many things, but the way that I kind of, the simple way that I kind of define the values is this is how we do it. Right. So
Yep.
the purpose is like, this is what you do.
Purpose is why you do it.
Right. Sorry. Why you do it.
Yeah.
And then the values are, this is how you do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. This is how we conduct our business.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so these are going to be, 3 to 5, maybe 7 describers, personality describers that are going to be used to define the perfect personality inside your business. Like, who are we called to be? How do we behave? How do we behave here? And so everybody's kind of seen values. Values, it might be accountability or integrity
Mm-hmm.
or professionalism or gratitude, grit, right? There's some defining characteristics that are going to trump all others. And that's going to determine a lot of things, including the people that you bring on your team must be value aligned. You hire based on these. You fire based on these. You create your policies and procedures based on these. You market based on these.
Mm-hmm.
So going back to the same client I was talking with today, I asked him a question. I said, what was one thing you learned about yourself over the last 2 weeks? And he said, I learned that the decisions that I make are going to be directly the thing that directly grows the company. I said, let's talk about that.
Beautiful.
Let's talk about that. My favorite word there is decisions. How do you define your decisions? How do you, how does that happen? Like, how do you get to your decisions? And we peeled back the layers and it came down to like, we use our values to drive decision making in this organization. Our values drive your decisions. And if your values are clear, your decisions will be clear. Your team's decisions will be clear. Your leadership team's decisions will be clear. Right? So the degree that you can get really, really clear on your values and how you want to behave will impact your culture tremendously.
Yeah. Again, I want to come back to people who are listening because you put it out there at the beginning. I just want more new patients. I want to know how to deal with these employees who are not acting appropriately. I want to drive productivity. My stats are going down. The first step, and this is something I learned from Eric Miller of Econologics. The first step when you're in the middle of a cash flow crunch and numbers are going down and you're worried about cash is to revisit your purpose and values. Start there. Where are we going wrong? What are we not living up to that we said that we would? Let's start there. And that's a team-wide experience. It's not just the owner. The owner needs to, self-reflect as well, but goes back to that. Let's focus on purpose and values. Then we can start doing some digging after that. But this is the importance of this exercise. It's not just set and done. Starting my business, I do these things because Adam and Nathan said so, put it on the shelf, and now we're done. No, to go back to what you're talking about, a value-driven company, a purpose and value-driven company is a company that has an intentional, established culture that is replicable and attracts like-minded individuals that will easily fit in that culture and be happy to produce, right? And so building a culture like that brings on people who eventually love your company like family. And that's what you want. You want them to love what you've built because you love it. So to start with values, it can be daunting to think of, how do I start with values? I mean, I have some, I think they're great words, but the exercise that we went through was, okay, what kind of companies do you respect? what are they known for? Why do you visit them versus the other companies, right? Why do you drive past five McDonald's to go to the Burger King? What does Burger King do that the five McDonald's don't? That's the idea. Why do I go to Sprouts or Trader Joe's instead of the other grocery stores in town? Because they provide what? What is that experience that they provide? What do they provide that you like? That could be something, there could be a value for you to find within that, right? What are some of the characteristics you want to be known for? Maybe you don't exemplify them right now, but you have mentors and idols and family members that you look up to that they have certain characteristics that you want to emulate. And okay, let's start writing these down. Some of these characteristics, start writing down. What do you want to be known for? What do you like? What do you see? What do you see in other companies that you want to be like? Because the values are not just how we do things, they're also what we are known for,
Mm-hmm.
right? We are known for these things. So Will and I initially did this the first time, and it was surprising how fun the experience was because it was just the two of us, and we had conversations about all these, and so we came up with a list of about 20 words, and after that, we'd go one by. So we'd get the list of 20, 25. After that, we'd go one by one and just say, do we really want this one, or is that rolled up in another word that we said? Is it
Mm-hmm.
duplicitous? And we cross off one or the other. And so we pine it down, pare it down um, to about maybe 10, 8 to 10 values. And then at that point, it was a conversation like, okay, let's have a serious conversation. Which values do we prioritize over the others and why? And what are some of our definitions for these values? Because even though you say the word, the definition could be different between the two of us.
Mm-hmm.
You could be envisioning one definition where I envision another. So you're going to get clear on what the definitions of those are. And after doing that for a little bit, then you might have to have some serious dialogue. And I don't know, what would you say? It takes maybe about an hour, maybe
Yeah. Yeah.
two,
I
if
mean,
two, if you involved maybe a group.
I was gonna say to me it's helpful to have another member of your team, like
Right.
co-create this with somebody and somebody on your team,
Mhm.
because the
Right.
best cultures are co-created, right? And then
Yeah,
it
definitely.
opens up more conversation,
And
and in my opinion, you get there a little bit quicker. I work better that way as opposed to just kind of staring at a blank piece of paper,
yeah,
because what you don't want to do is create the Adam show, right?
yeah.
You don't want to create the Adam show. You don't want to create the Nathan show. You want to create the your physical therapy, your company show. And in order to do that, you need to have input from people in your company.
Well, you know what the cool thing is about involving other people on your team is that they might call out values that don't readily come to mind just because you're living in them all the time. Like when I say, what are you known for? My team would be able to say blank right away. I'm like, oh, that's how you guys see me. And so it's nice to have that third party perspective that's like,
Oh yeah.
you don't see that, Nathan? That's what you do all day long. I'm
Yeah.
like, okay, I guess that's one of our values. Let's throw it up on the board and,
Mm-hmm.
and have a discussion about it. So it is good to have that kind of input from people on your team because some of the values they easily see.
Love it, man. So at this point, for the listeners, we've got our story written out. Page 2 is we've got our purpose. And then underneath that, we've got our values with maybe some defining, like some definitions behind them that define like who we are and what we want to be known for. At that point, you've got a strong foundation.
Right.
Document it. Put it in it's in your owner's manual, right? It's got to be documented.
Can I say something really quick?
For sure.
Um, it was one thing for us to find the values. The second part of that you said was related to definitions.
Mm-hmm.
It became much more powerful once we defined the words and we had a standard definition. And we tried to make it as easy to remember as possible, just like a single sentence. Um, so if I can give an example, professionalism. Do what we say what we're going to do when we say we're going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So, well, I might be getting that one mixed up with another one, but nonetheless, you get the idea.
Correct.
So we wanted it such that if a stranger came into our clinic and picked anybody at random and said, what are the values of your company? They'd be able to rattle off professionalism, accountability, growth, and empathy. They should know them by heart. Well, what do you mean by professionalism? And they'd say, do what you say that you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. And what about accountability? Blankety blank. Growth, blankety blank, right? So that took our culture just another notch up, is when people both knew the values and knew their definitions so that they were clear on what we were talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And that would create a little bit broader conversation. I mean, people might want to stew in the values that you decide upon before you come back next time, decide what the definitions are. But I think that was a valuable experience for us.
For sure. And to me, as I grow and evolve as a person, and I'm getting involved in new things and doing the coaching thing, and like I I continue to find deeper and deeper appreciations for purpose and values. It's like it continues to show up over and over and over.
Right.
So uh
Especially if
as
you're
you
recruiting, if you're hiring and
recruiting,
firing,
hiring, all
all
of
the
it,
time.
sales,
Yep.
negotiations, it's all there. And what I've also found, Nathan, is as my company has grown, I have spent more and more time on my purpose and values. I've spent more time and focus on it. Like we talk about values every week in our meetings,
At least.
every single week.
Yep.
And like I'm continuously redefining, not necessarily redefining, but digging more to get more clarity on like who we are and what we want to be known for. And that's the CEO's job.
Mm-hmm.
That's their job, right? Your job, one of the, if there's three things that you do, one of them is definitely culture. Like that's your job.
You are
like,
you are the tip of the spear there.
you're the very tip. Like, so like, it's a really, really important. Got a few other things I want to share about purpose and values. I have made the mistake. So let me back up. The game is, if you want to separate yourself from your competition, if you want to be a beacon of light in your community, if you want to practice that attracts patients, referrals, employees, if you want everything you want, if you want freedom and more money, focus less on what you do and focus more on who you are. Focus more on who your company is. Focus more on your culture. And that will be the thing that separates you. That creates your identity. Right? And there's nobody in the world who's going to be better at your identity than you. Nobody. Nobody in the world. So you instantly create a niche that nobody can replicate.
Mm-hmm.
So the clearer you can get on your identity, the more you're going to stand out, right? So if you have 3 PT clinics in a row, it's going to be like, clinic number 1's, oh, we do dry needling and massage. Clinic number 2 is like, yeah, we do massage too, but it's better than their massage, right? And we also do dry needling,
Sometimes.
but we do it better. Yeah. And then clinic number 3 is like, we're a group of leaders and we're committed to helping people rise above.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, wow.
Oh, that's different.
Wow. Tell me more about that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Tell me more about that. So
the other two have just commoditized themselves.
Exactly. So focus more on who you are instead of what you do. And when I say focus on who you are, I don't mean from 9 to 5. I mean at home, on the weekends, with your kids, with your spouse, at church, everywhere. You're living your purpose everywhere. And the degree in which you can live that and align with that very, very good, like at a level that most people can't, that will be the thing that drives success in your business. Decisions get more clear, more quick. You stand out more. You hire more people. Your marketing improves. Everything improves when you get clear on who you are as a company, what your identity is, and you live it like unapologetically. So big point there.
That was a huge win for me. And it was a point in my business career in which things really pivoted, was reading business books. Never touched a business book for about 10 years of business ownership. And then decided to, I don't know how I came across Good to Great. First business book I read, blown away by the first sentence. Good is the enemy of great, right?
Mm,
I read that and I was like, mind blown. Yes, that's me. I
there
need
you
to read
go.
more of this and I need to do better, right? So I was ready to go. And um and that definitely changed my trajectory. Implemented a lot of things that I read about, improved my life. That also led me to read some self-help books that were influential. Because tell me the line at which you leave everything at the door and once you cross into your clinic. I mean, do you really drop everything that's going on in your personal life, forget everything, and then walk across
No,
the threshold and you're like, I'm a different person now?
you
No.
shouldn't.
And you shouldn't expect that out of your team. They bring their lives with them into the clinic, and that's okay as long as they're value aligned in their actions. But I mean, there's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be emotional things that you bring in across the. I mean, it doesn't just get wiped away clean. Same thing can be said for what you're learning, your attitude, your capabilities, your ability, what you're talking about, who you are doesn't stop at the door. So you need to improve that, like you said, not just during work hours, but throughout your life.
Yeah, not just when it's convenient either.
Yeah.
Even when it's hard. Even when it like you want to grow a business, get crazy about your purpose and values and your identity and live it. Live it hard. Live it like it's the most important thing. And people will be blown away by you. People will want to work with you,
Right.
you know. Recruiting is a I mean is a topic that everybody in our program is hiring therapists. There's not a single person in our program who has a recruiting problem at this point. You know, how many times have you heard, well, therapists, all these new grads these days, they just want a bunch of money and they don't want to work hard. It's like, no, you don't know what your culture is. You know what I mean? Like, you don't know your purpose and values, and you haven't articulated it. You
You
don't
don't
have
know
a
what you're,
compelling vision. You don't have
yeah.
a compelling story. People don't want to follow you, right? All those problems are mitigated by culture work.
Yeah. Getting clear on exactly what you're selling.
Getting clear on what you're selling, right? It's like, I mean, listen, I'm learning. I got a nugget from you because earlier you said people tell you how they perceive you, and that's eye opening to you.
Mm.
I had the same experience recently about how I'm perceived, and what I'm learning is people perceive me as somebody with a lot of energy and somebody that just goes all the time. And I was like, oh well, that's super. Like, thank you. Like, that's super helpful. And so, like, I'm very clear that not everybody wants to listen to what I have to say. And I'm okay with that. I'm not talking to you. You know what I mean? Like, I love you and I wish you nothing but the best, but like, I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to my people. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And when I can step into that place of like really speaking to my people, like, I know who I am and I know what I stand for. I know what my story is. I know what my values are. And I speak it boldly and unapologetically. The people who are right for me come a running. They come out the woodworks.
Right.
Employees, referrals, everybody. So it's a topic that I'm really passionate about. That's why I go on those little tangents. But all that to say, you could probably make a little money without some purpose and values, but you can't grow a business.
It's hard to expand.
Yeah, really
Really
hard to
hard.
expand. Really
Yeah.
hard to create something
Successfully.
scalable. You
Yeah.
know?
Yeah. That's true. It's like I think it's a John Maxwell quote, and I don't want to misappropriate, but Brene Brown shares in Daring Greatly is culture eats strategy for breakfast.
Yeah,
Yeah. Culture
love it,
trumps it.
love it, love it, man. At that point, I feel like what a foundation.
Mm, beautiful.
Something that you could share with your team, something that actually means something, something that will allow them to get connected to like the heartbeat of you so that it's not just about another unit or another visit or another 40 hours of work. And it's about something bigger. And that'll be the thing that keeps them there, you know? That'll be the thing that's like, man, I will run through a wall for Nathan Shields. I love that guy. I just believe in him, man. He's inspiring, you know? So you have your own owner's manual now.
This is
My
just
challenge
chapter
to you,
one.
chapter 1. Don't skip this. And if you have this, pull it back out. If you've done this, if you
Revisit.
haven't done this in a while, like pull it back out, like redefine it. Maybe you haven't fully committed to a few of them. Maybe you and your team hasn't fully committed to some of the values. Maybe they need to be revisited. Maybe some of them are no longer applicable. Maybe you need to change them. You know, but I would challenge you to really, really prioritize this. Get clear on what this is, and plug this into your business. I promise you, you will not regret it.
Yeah. It's worth, once you have them, and if you do have them, it is worth revisiting and say, are we living up to these? Like if you feel like your purpose is pretty clear according to what we laid out, it's a why statement, just like Simon Sinek would have described, and you feel like you have some values. Okay. Now, are we living up to these values? And how could we improve them? That's worth an annual exercise.
Right. How can we bring this to our families?
Mm.
How can we bring this to our team's families? Like the tech, the other OT and the other clinic. Like, how can we help her bring this to their family? Like, let's go big with it. Like, focus on that. It's important.
Right. Cool, man. Do you want to give a little bit of a snapshot of what we might be talking about next chapter?
Yeah. So next week we're going to be talking about, I promise we're going to talk about business stuff. We're going to be talking about, a little bit. We're going to touch on time and attention mastery. We're going to talk about some habits that you need to develop in your work routine as a CEO.
Some time management.
Some time management pieces.
Sweet.
After that, we're going to start talking about some financials. Right. And then we're going to get into marketing, sales, front desk, practice management, recruiting. We're going to do all kinds of fun stuff.
Nice. I'm looking forward to it, bro.
Yep.
Yeah. And if you want to reach out to either one of us, questions about this episode or others, Nathan at ptoclub.com, Adam at ptoclub.com, or check out the website, ptoclub.com, to see what we're offering. You'll find the podcasts there. You'll find a little snapshot of what we're doing as far as coaching, and you can book a call with us to talk about your business as well. So feel free to reach out to us or send us or check out our website. We also have the Facebook group. Don't forget the Facebook group. Sign up for that at Physical Therapy Owners Club. All right. Thanks for your time, man.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it, man.
Great place to start.
Yep.
All right.
I'll be in touch until next time.
Sounds good. See you, man.